Come on, we all know it. There's just something about Saratoga.
What's up, buddy?
Hey. All right. Good to see you.
And they're off in the Kentucky Derby.
You're watching Past the Wire TV, the biggest races at the best tracks. From the Kentucky Derby to the Breeders' Cup. The best horse racing coverage is right here on Past the Wire TV.
It's always a pleasure for me, Jonathan, to be with you. You were the first person to give me an interview when I came to United States, so I will be grateful to you forever.
I knew you were one of the best riders in the world.
Legend himself, Frankie Dettori. Ciao, Frankie. Tutto a posto.
Tutto a posto. Yes, that's a good start. So you haven't lost.
Exclusively here on Past the Wire, the Gio City Belmont Stakes Seminar, live with me, doing a complete deep dive covering every horse in all 7 graded stakes races leading to the 157th Belmont Stakes.
Dornick and my frame, it will be Dornick and Luis Saez to win the Belmont Stakes at Saratoga.
It will be with our collective handicap in focus. We'll fully discuss with Q&A after each race, this for maximum preparation, so you will be as informed as possible to make your very best window decisions on this much anticipated full card day at Saratoga.
National Treasure wastes no time rocketing out of the gate. It's a 1-horse race. National Treasure and Flavian Prat making short work of the competition, devastating them in the Hillendale Metropolitan Handicap.
For as long as we need, we'll focus to the absolute finish.
You're watching Past the Wire TV.
Ciao tutti. We're back. The draw for the Belmont Stakes and for really all of the Belmont Festival at Saratoga is in the books. We now know who's starting from where, and we're ready to, So that's what we're going to do. We've got some Belmont thoughts, some Mile Muses, some Ogden Phipps predictions. And we were going to talk a little bit about the Woody Stevens. So we got 4 races to kind of touch base on briefly. Final handicapping will be done this week amongst all the hoopla and excitement leading up to the big day on Saturday, which really nice card. Got to say, Belmont short field. Ogden Phipps, short field, Met Mile, short field. But got some big fields mixed in there, and they may be short, but they're not short on quality horses. So, you know, we all like bigger fields. I get it. Everybody likes a bigger field. Everybody likes more opportunities. Everybody likes, bigger prices. But we're going to have big pools, and those small fields, in my opinion, force people to be something that we used to be a lot more back in the day, and that's decisive. It kind of takes those cowboy tickets and spread tickets, and in my opinion, ridiculously structured tickets out of the equation of having any chance of being successful, especially long term, but even short term on those kind of days. If you're going to spread in those 6, 7 horse fields, unless you get extremely, extremely, extremely lucky, you're putting yourself behind an 8-ball coming out of the box, and I don't think anybody wants to do that. So, a couple of words of wisdom, in my opinion. There is so much bullshit out there on social media. I went on social media for a bit this morning just to look at some of the crap that's out there. Man, I mean, if you're ever glad that you stay off social media, just go on it after a couple of days and you'll be like, holy shit, what am I even doing here? The opinions are horrendous. Everybody's got one, just like a-holes, and most of them smell really, really bad. I did see one thing that I thought was an intelligent and well-written, short, sweet one-liner from my friend Tommy Massis. And he said something that I agree with wholeheartedly. Baez will be, within 2 lengths of the pace or something like that early, and I definitely think he'll be sitting, getting right into the Belmont Stakes draw. He'll be sitting in the garden spot coming out of that Kentucky Derby, and that's regardless of whether the track is fast or sloppy, and that's that. So I think. That was the only thing, and it's not something that I didn't know, but I believe that to be accurate. But it was probably the only thing that was worth looking at or noting in the whole assortment of opining and bloviating and bullshitting and whatever else that was on there. I don't understand how people have so much time in the day to spend on these platforms. Good luck to them. I mean, if you're doing it for monetization and you're making, 6 figures off it, okay, then it's a job. You know what I mean? So that's what you do. Great. You know what I mean? A lot of people bullshit for a living. So all the power to them. But if you're there because that's, what your life is, self-reflection is in order, in my opinion. But let's not get off topic. Let's stay on the excitement of the races. Nobody more excited than Gio, who's got himself locked and buried in his house on the Jersey Shore. He's been handicapping before the past performances come out because he knows who's going in what races, and he's finding out who's going in what races, and he's watching films and taking notes. So his seminar, if nothing else, will be extremely, as we all know, thorough and informative. So you can go to PassTheWire.com and get a seat at Gio's seminar if you are so inclined. And we'll put a link in this video as well for those of you that are too lazy to go to PassTheWire.com and sign up over there. So we'll make it real easy for you if you want to be, what does Gio say? Be informed, be very informed. So that's that. Now, we'll start right away with the big one, the Belmont. You got Sovereignty coming back off that Kentucky Derby win, doing great up at the Spa. Skip the Preakness. You got Journalism coming off a monster race in the Preakness where he had, 101 reasons to lose the race, and yet he won it anyway. You got Baeza coming back off the Kentucky, Derby. You've got Rodriguez, who missed the Derby and the Preakness, coming back fresh. And if you remember, the first show I did, the early Belmont thoughts, I kind of called it. I said, Rodriguez is awfully dangerous on the lead, only speed unless we get the curveball of Crudo coming in for Todd Pletcher. What happened? He threw the curveball. Crudo is in off that big win against nobody in the Sir Barton on Preakness Day. Now, what I think that did is level the playing field for some of the other horses. Rodriguez is still dangerous if he gets the right trip, as is most horse, but he's a Bob Baffert horse, so he's like extra dangerous if he gets the right trip. But here's the thing. I believe that Crudo going in the race and giving Rodriguez some entertainment near the front kind of levels the playing field for the other horses. And I will opine on those as best I can at this early juncture. I will say this. In my opinion, I have seen enough to know that as of today, despite Sovereignty winning the Kentucky Derby on the square, Journalism is a better and more impressive horse, in my opinion. And I think all things equal, he would be able to turn the tables on Sovereignty in the Belmont Stakes. But are all things equal? That always remains to be seen. We're going to probably get another off track, though they both handled it in the Kentucky Derby. All off tracks are not created equal. Saratoga slop, Saratoga mud ain't the same as Churchill Downs, Louisville slop and mud. So let's just see what happens with that and how that affects it. But logically, okay, in my opinion, if you look at the race, and we'll take price aside, and everybody's got a different opinion of value, it goes back to that social media thing, all about opinions. You can make value on any horse if you know how to bet. Watching the replay of the Kentucky Derby and knowing some of the insights that we shared right here on Past the Wire, it's very hard not to really truly believe with all your heart, 110%, that Baeza is not awfully dangerous in the Belmont Stakes. Okay, we all know that Pratt was holding out to ride Baeza and only took the call on the other horse because they were going to let him out if Baeza got in, and Baeza did. Okay, we know that Baeza was well thought of, even by Umberto Rispoli, who was getting on Baeza at one time earlier in his career before the horse made his start, and knew that he was a hell of a racehorse and one that he was going to have to contend with Journalism down the line. Umberto was right. Baeza was a serious player in the Kentucky Derby, but what didn't Baeza have in the Kentucky Derby? Yeah, we all know he had that monster gallop out in the Santa Anita Derby. Gallops out ain't the race, okay? What Baeza didn't have was seasoning in bottom. John Sheriff's is a very patient, slow-moving, bring them along leisurely, run them into form and shape kind of trainer. I mean, that's just a fact. That Baeza is probably a horse that has gone forward considerably and will benefit a lot from that start in the Kentucky Derby, whereas Sovereignty and Journalism kind of got there quicker and were kind of at their maximum and are less likely to go forward. They may go a little bit forward, but less likely to jump forward in a big way than Baeza is. Baeza is a horse who I think is going to get a lot of attention in the money. Going to get a lot of money. They got him 4-1 on the morning line. I think he's going to be less than that, maybe 3-1, but we'll see. I'm not looking to predict the odds, but I mean, just watching the race that he ran, knowing that he's probably going to be a lot closer, much smaller field, a lot more seasoned. I mean, Baeza is a horse that just jumps off the page as being extremely live going into the Belmont, and is you know, with Pratt is ripe to be the of the field and just gobble him up, run a big, huge race. I mean, he's definitely gonna, in my opinion, get the jump on both journalism and sovereignty. That could be a key if the track is playing that way. In a small field, we know Pratt moves at the right time. He's tough to get past when he's on the lead rolling. So, you know, all these things considered, Baeza is a horse that I think anybody that's looking to, you know, play this race seriously and, you know, looking for a live single has to look at. And I'm not saying I'm going to land there. I'll say this: there's a good chance that I land there. And that brings me to another point I'd like to make quickly. Everybody knows, or if you watch this channel, I was on journalism before any of these other flag waves. Okay. It was October of last year, before the Los Al race, that I said this horse is a legit, serious Kentucky Derby type horse and contender. And he proved me right, even though he didn't win. But loved him in the Derby, loved him all along, and I love him now. But that doesn't mean that I married him and have to bet him come Saturday. I bet who I think is going to win on the day. I don't marry them. I don't fall in love with them. I don't, quote, stick with them because I bet them last time or because I liked them early. That's all kid stuff. You know what I mean? Silly rabbit tricks are for kids. I bet who I think is going to win. So, you know, there's a good chance I land on Baeza once I do the final crunching of the numbers. Thoroughgraphs ain't out yet. I haven't really looked long and hard at them. We got some new things coming out with Thoroughgraph for those of you that have been asking me. So stay tuned for that. All good to those who wait. But the Belmont, again, the horse I think that jumps out as one you got to look at long and hard and seriously is Baeza. Rodriguez scares me because it's Bob, because he likes him, because he's going into the race doing well, fresh, has speed. Bob with a fresh speed horse, ain't a race in the world that he can't win under those conditions. And if Crudo ain't all that, and he shakes him off early, or he sits off him and just, you know, puts some distance between, you know, him and the rest of the field whenever Mike says go, forget about it. You know, dangerous. I think of the short price horses, they're all relatively short price in this small field like this, but I think the most vulnerable and the most scream bet against horse in the race is Sovereignty coming back. Sovereignty had a dream run in the Derby, avoided the trouble, followed journalism. Journalism had a little bit of trouble, and he got up. He won on the square. You know, we said on the show, Gio and I both said, you know, Sovereignty and journalism were probably the two leading contenders heading into the race. Gio leaned towards Sovereignty. I leaned towards journalism. But I still think that journalism is a little bit better, and you know, had things gone a little bit differently, could have won. And I'm a big believer that journalism should not lay as close as they like him to lay. I'm in the minority there, but I think if he comes from behind Sovereignty, he's got a much better shot of running him down. I think he's at his best when he's got a target in front of him. So we'll see what happens when we crunch the numbers. And Gio will crunch him and come up with his opinion. It'll probably be different, maybe the same, but different than mine. But that's kind of how I saw it. I thought, you know, those couple of others in there that we didn't mention were also reigns. So that's that. The Met Mile, again, small field, great race. I mean, who can't you make a case for in the Met Mile? I don't know. I will say this, you know, as much as I love the Met Mile, I hate that stupid ass Wilson shoot. You know, anytime you've got a major race, especially a race with sire and stallion implications, why do you want to run it on a configuration that favors inside horses and puts the outside horses as a disadvantage? I mean, all right, granted, they only drew 5, so it ain't like all that. You know, but still, it's a horrible configuration. It slows down the race. You see the times of those Mile Saratoga races; they're ridiculous. I think they got enough stake races on the Belmont Festival card up there where they're trying to cram everything in there, that they could have ran the Met Mile at Aqueduct on Memorial Day or somewhere else and just kept it a 1 mile shoot race and not screw around with it and jack it all up like they did. But Nive had been making bad decisions at every level of the game and sport since, as I remember, the 70s. Maybe before that. I can't speak for before that, but since the 70s, I could name like 20 bad decisions that they've made, maybe more. And that with that Wilson shoot is one of them. For every like 25 bad decisions, they make one good one. So a broken clock twice a day, we all know. But that Wilson shoot is terrible. But they did get a nice field nonetheless, even if it's only 5. You got Fierceness from the rail, White Barrio, Castle Chaos, probably the only horse that would be a legit surprise. Just a Touch, very intriguing. Raging Torrent, more dangerous than people realize. I think the outside post does hurt him, the 5-hole. I would rather have seen him inside, but that's that. So Met Mile, heck of a race. And I might as well say this now, get it out of the way. You know, a lot of people talk about this Jon Stewart character. I had him on the show, seemed a nice enough guy. I don't think I've ever met him in person. If I did, I don't remember it, but I may have and just don't remember. But I did have him on the show on a one-on-one interview way back when I was doing those. He never came back, whatever. I don't know if we asked him or not, but he never came back. And he's all over. So, you know, he's one of these all over social media guys, fighting with Mike Napoli, this, that, everything. But he does a lot. You know, does a lot. Doesn't do anything quietly. Or if he does a lot more noisily. But I will say this: a lot of people criticize this guy, saying that he spends all of his money and doesn't win a lot of races. Here's one of my Saratoga Belmont Festival predictions. Resolute makes some grade 1 and graded stakes noise over the weekend. He's got a couple of live horses running. He takes on partners now. You know, in the old days back at Saratoga, no matter how much money you had, partners, no way. You try buying into a Phipps horse back then, or some of those old, you know, homebred class outfits. Those were the best horses that money couldn't buy, because you couldn't buy in. You go to Nelson Bunker Hunt, say I want to buy a piece of this horse or that horse or all those farms. Forget about it. They laugh you right out of it. Now everybody wants to partner up, whatever, minimize the risk, this, that, this, breed to sell, breed to make money, this, that, everything but race. But anyway, and I think Resolute, I think, is going to make some noise. And they might make it at a price in the Met Mile with this Just a Touch. That horse coming in right. White Barrio, we all know what he did in the Whitney a couple of years ago when he was in Rick's Bond. Now he's back with Safi's, you know. You saw a little bit of a look at him at the beginning of this video, and if that doesn't put you in the mood for Saratoga, I don't know what will. Get the blood pumping. But, you know, one thing you got to realize, and history will show that I am 1,000% right on this. There is no more racetrack that is horse for course than Saratoga Springs. None. Zero. There will definitely be horses that win this weekend that are spa aficionados. It's a horse for course racetrack, more so than any racetrack that I've ever been familiar with in my entire life. And I've been around a racetrack my entire life, so be that as it may. But really, this is a race that, I don't know, Fierceness, no surprise. White Barrio, no surprise. Castle Chaos, big surprise. Just a Touch, no surprise in my book. And Raging Torrent, no surprise in my book. Even at the mile, I think this is a very competitive Met Mile race. I think it's going to be a jockey's race. Johnny, Irad, Flo, and Frankie all have big chances, and all those chances are probably going to be determined on who moves when. and who waits and who doesn't wait, and how things shake out. So you got a small, tough, competitive field, and I think fierceness, as good as he's looked when he's good, I think he's in for a little bit of a tussle. And he's kind of shown that he can win when things don't go right, and he had the reputation and that look of a horse that can only win when things go right earlier in his career. He's overcome that, but let's see what he can do when he gets into a real fight with really, really talented horses in a race like this Met Mile. I'm excited to see that race and bet on it once I narrow it down to one. That's another race. The Belmont to me is a race. Got to take one horse. The Met Mile is a race to me. You got to take one horse. If you're right, you get paid. If you're wrong, you live to fight another day. That's it. You know what I mean? No hedging, no using boatload of horses in races like that. Now on Friday, we got the Ogden Phipps. Really, really great race. And you tell me how Chad is going to get beat there. I think he's got them over a barrel with both his horses. Raging Sea is finally becoming the horse I thought she was going to be when she was 2. We had her last time when she beat Torpedo Anna, the unbeatable horse. She beat her. Now she's going back to Saratoga where she likes, and her stablemate Randomized, extremely live and dangerous, loves the spa. That's one of those spa horses that I like. So I think Chad is going to probably win the Grade 1 Ogden Phipps. Not bad for a turf trainer. Ha, bullshit. We've been saying that for years. Anybody thinks Chad Brown is a turf trainer is in the wrong game. But I think he's got that race over a barrel with those two older mares that are just really ass-kicking mares. And that brings me to another Saratoga horse that just jumps out off the page at me on the cutback, and that's in the Woody Stevens. In the Woody Stevens, Chancer McPatrick cuts back at the spot where he's 2 for 2. Now, I listen, when you're wrong in this game, and we're all wrong more than we're right. I absolutely thought Chancer McPatrick was a legit 2-turn horse and was going to stretch out because of the way he shuts down and doesn't really look like he's struggling, and then just goes when the rider cues him. He didn't route well at all. He didn't route as good as he 1-turn sprinted. That's just how it is. So with that, what do I say? I say he is probably a 1-turn sprinter. He does love Saratoga, 2 for 2, turning back. Pratt had options all over the place in that race and some really promising options. He stuck with Chad's horse, not because he rides for Chad on the grass, because he likes Chancer McPatrick. He stuck with that horse in a lot of other spots where he had choices as well. I think Chancer McPatrick on the cutback is very dangerous, but that's a tough race. That's a race we're really going to have to crunch because there are horses in there that are just loaded with potential. But Chancer McPatrick is definitely, from the 10 post outside, blinkers off, in my opinion, awfully dangerous. Definitely going to be running late. Citizen Bull cutting back. Patch Adams, a lot of hype. This Big Truz looked very interesting to me. Gunmetal, Colloquial ran that monster number. Very, very fast horse, although I'm a little bit leaning to betting against him. But Chancer McPatrick looked very dangerous. Another dirt race. I think Chad is awfully live in for a turf trainer at the Belmont Festival. So some early thoughts. Hopefully there's something that you can glean out of here that we could use going forward. There'll be a ton of stuff up. We got Eddie C up there scouting around. I think he's already spoken to Bill Mott, Mike McCarthy, Jack Wolf. Eddie, he'll talk to anybody. That's why we call him Nice Guy Eddie, Eddie C. He talks to anybody. I don't, he does. But he's up there, so he'll be providing us with some stuff. We always got boots on the ground wherever we want to have them. We got them. If we ain't got them, it's because we don't want to have them. So with that, I guess we'll wrap it up. Again, Geo Seminar, I think, is Thursday night, if memory serves correct. Today is Tuesday. So we got Gio's seminar coming up. We got a ton of other stuff coming up. We already got, a couple of interviews up on the site. We got this little advanced look. And I'll close out with this. You got 3-4 great days of racing, opportunities all over the place. Manage your money smart. Put the bulk of your bullets at the opinions that you are the strongest on. If you spread your money out all over the place just for action, you're making a mistake. If your key bets win, you want to get paid. You don't want to go after everything the same way. You gotta manage your money. There's an article on AmWager this week about that very thing. I've spoke about it in videos. Whether your budget is $10, $100, $1,000, $10,000, $100,000. I don't give a shit. Whatever your budget is, you take 70%, 75% of your budget and you put it on your strongest opinion over the 3-4 days. And you spread the rest out for your action, because if you're right in your strongest opinion, you want to get paid. And if that happens, nothing else matters. Everything else is gravy. And if everything else loses, it still don't matter. You scored. And that's the key to long-term success in this game. You don't want to fool around, spread your money all over the place just for the action. Then you just, a fish in the water waiting to get gobbled up. And, you don't want to be that. You want to come away with, with that. So there's a way to do that. And there's a way not to do it. So, we like to advocate the way to do it. So keep that in mind. Okay, that's a wrap. We will be in touch. You know where to find us. And enjoy the races and check back in. We got a lot more coming. And ciao for now.
Here comes journalism, here comes sovereignty, and they square off, heading to the final for sovereignty wins the Derby!
You're watching Past the Wire TV. Hit that like button and subscribe to Past the Wire TV. Nobody does it better.
For 150 years, the Kentucky Derby has stood as the most enduring tradition in American sports. And in our time, one stallion is reshaping its legacy. Back-to-back Derby winners. His first son at stud siring another. A dynasty in motion. A motion that again has forward momentum toward Louisville, with another elite crop of 3-year-olds bearing his genes. Spendthrift Farm, home of Into Mischief.
Dan Oman here with some exciting news. DRF Formulator, the gold standard in past performance information, is now free, exclusively on DRF Bets. Join DRF Bets with the promo code WINNING, get a $250 first deposit match bonus, a $10 free bet, and free Formulator already uploaded to your account. Access Formulator's premium features, including sortable trainer stats, race replays, personalized trip notes, and lots more. Free Formulator, exclusively on DRF Bets.
Welcome to Past the Wire TV, your #1 source for horse racing news and interviews, handicapping analysis, betting insights, and more. Past the Wire TV covers the biggest races at the best tracks.
Garnet and Luis Saez to win the Belmont Stakes at Saratoga.
The Grey Wizard is absolutely flying. Champagne won. The Grey Wizard. Oh, it's very close. Leave it to the judge.
Like, share, and subscribe to Pass the Wire TV. Nobody does it better.
Here comes journalism, here comes sovereignty, and they square off, heading to the final front. Sovereignty wins the Derby!
You're watching Pass the Wire TV. Hit that like button and subscribe to Pass the Wire TV. Nobody does it better.
Nobody does it better.